made me very uncomfortable, but in a good way. Aphro-ism is a collection of essays written on pop culture, feminism, and black veganism by sisters Sil and Aph Ko. What is this book about? Well, from the book jacket, in Aphro-ism, the Ko sisters engage in groundbreaking analysis of the compartmentalized nature of contemporary social movements, present new ways of understanding interconnected oppressions, and offer conceptual ways of moving forward, expressive of Afrofuturism and black veganism. And now I shall review this book. First, on the format. I think it's really charming that this book is a glimpse into the conversations of two incredibly intelligent sisters. It reminds me of the conversations I have with my own sister, listening to my sister's expressive viewpoint on maybe feminism that I had never considered before. The text similarly asks you to listen to viewpoints that you haven't necessarily considered before. The essays here are ordered sequentially when they were written. So reading them in order, you get to see the maturing of the different ideas presented in the text, which I think is really cool. Alright, enough about the format. What about the nut meat of this book? A good book changes the way that you see the world, making the mundane more colorful. Others comfort you like a cup of hot tea on a cold day. Others literally destroy your working model of reality. An entire essay in this book is devoted to the concept of confusion and its inherent value. We should embrace the discomfort in changing the framework that we use to look at very complicated problems. Being confused is a sign that you are critically thinking, a sign of growth and adaptation to change and new perspectives. Thank goodness, because I haven't been this confused since philosophy class in high school. And also, this means I haven't been critically thinking for about 10 freaking years, so. In the ruins of your beloved mind place is where the opportunity for unprecedented growth lies. This discomfort forces your brain to reflect at your naked thought, scrutinize it, improve it, empower it, and this mindset is necessary. It is so necessary for digesting mind-blowing concepts in this book. Now, according to the afterword, this book demonstrates the importance of critical theory. In other words, the idea that our normative beliefs, both conscious and unconscious ideas, are the main obstacle to liberation. In this book, they discuss in depth several of the obstacles that lead to counterproductive activism in multiple spaces. In general, this book emphasizes the overarching problem with activists focusing on physical problems, physical spaces, physical disparities, instead of the conceptual ones. This is what makes Aphro-ism so groundbreaking. They expertly identify and deconstruct the conceptual boundaries between the exploitation of non-human animals and human animals in such a way that it exposes the sheer amount and degree of limitations in the way that I've been previously understanding and approaching these problems. Literally the way that I've been thinking about these problems. And while I was reading this book, I was just forced to sit down and think. Think about how I understand the way that the world works and really understand the repercussions of that perspective. Thought defines reality, and I definitely agree. It's the kind of book that just makes you wanna. And they really make the case that activists, whether they work in anti-racist spaces or animal advocacy, these activists should embrace the discomfort of facing different and disagreeing frameworks and perspectives. And I would agree. I'm convinced. The text, it does assume a working knowledge with the concepts of racism, animal rights, that sort of thing, which isn't a flaw of the book. It just means that for those who aren't really entrenched in those spaces, they may have to work a little harder to catch up with some of the terminology. But for me, it definitely was accessible enough for me to digest it over the course of like a week. Just have a patience with the density of the writing, despite the collection of essays being an effective form factor. For now, I really look forward to a more fleshed out book. Look forward to the textbook version of this that could be like class curriculum or something. So this book is a must read. You must read this book. It's probably the best book I've read this year, especially if I'm measuring the quality of the book by how much it changes my perspective. It makes me see humanity and animality in such a different way that I'm still picking up the pieces of my shattered worldview. But in the wake, it makes me believe that I'm in a better position to be not only a better animal advocate, but just a better advocate for social change. They say that you learn the most when you fail, but I also argue you learn the most when you're extremely uncomfortable and are wrong. So if you want to become a better advocate, I suggest you dive into spaces, frameworks, and perspectives that make you very freaking uncomfortable. And this book is a great place to start.